Hello, welcome to this edition of Tips and Tricks. Now today I'm going to be talking about how to hold your rod when using bottom hopping baits. Because I see a lot of fishermen and I watch a lot of videos and I see a lot of them working things like jigs and stuff like that, and they're like out, out like this. And this is how they're working them out. I know a lot of them are filming with the chesty GoPro, so maybe they do that because they want their hands in front of it, but that is not, having it straight out like that is not the way to work something like a jig or a Texas worm, or I throw the bait caster on as a drop shot if you're casting it. That's not the way. You don't want it out at like 9 o'clock and maybe 9 to like 10 and down here to work it. You're not going to have very good feeling. You're not going to be able to feel the bottom so much that way. You're not going to be able to work the bait that well that way either. But I see a lot of people doing it. But how I hold it, and the way I was taught, and the way that I know a lot of old school pros, like going back to Gary Klein and Rick Clunn and Shaw Grigsby and those types, how they hold it, and even Bill Dance. If you watch him, and that is, what I do is I put the butt right here up against me, under my arm. And I hold it this close. The reel's like right here. And I usually work it from like 10 o'clock to about 11 o'clock, maybe even up to like 12 o'clock. But always like starting at about 10, and I work it slowly up till about 11. And what this does is that's the best angle, with the angle of the rod and the angle of the line, for the most sensitivity. If you're down here and you're doing it, you don't have as much sensitivity. If you're like working it all the way back here, you're not going to have much sensitivity either. It's that little, to me, like 10 and 11, 10 and 12. Just that's where you work it, and up to like that. And you can see a lot of times on my hag, my pole's always usually right in front of the view when I'm working these bottom baits, and you have it up against here because that gets it right up against your body. That gives you the most sensitivity, and I can feel anything, the lightest tick, the lightest tap, the lightest pressure, anything. And if I was holding it out here and doing it this way, I could feel hardly anything. That's a good way to, run a crank or work a topwater stuff. But for bottom hopping baits, it's something you're hopping down and on the bottom. No, that you don't want it out here from your body. You want it right up here. And I always hold it. I've said this. I did a show on this, fingers on the line, how to hold it. Because I have the line going over my index finger, and I have it pinched on the reel like this, on the rod. And I usually have my thumb pushing down on it. So this is the best sensitivity you can get. When you're working something like a jig and you're just slowly crawling it or working over something, and just waiting for that slightest tap or anything, that's the way to do it. Don't put it out here and work it like this. Plus, when you have it up here and you get a bite, you can easily just lower it down and let them load up and then pull it. Especially if they all of a sudden take off really quick, you have room to let them run, because if you're sitting right here and all of a sudden they take off, you got to set the hook and you're probably going to pull it right out of their mouth. But you have it up here and something hits it, just takes off really quick, you have time to drop it, let them pull some line out, and then load up. So for me, I said I learned this back in the 80s, and that's the way everybody fished. We had a lot smaller handle rods back then, little pistol grips and that, but you didn't hold it out here. When you did jig fishing, you had it right here up against your body. Or, a Texas ringworm or a creature bait on the bottom or anything. But I'm telling you, give it a try. Don't hold it out here when you're working it. Keep it right up here to your body and work it between like 10 o'clock and close to 12 o'clock. And I bet you find yourself having a lot more sensitivity and probably detecting a lot slighter bites and catching yourself some more fish. I hope this helps. Until next time.